We're now joined by Brad Keselowski, driver of the number 2 discount tire Ford for Team Penske. We're going to go and open it the questions. We're going to start with Sterling, and we're going to work our way around.
Sterling Siemens at KCOU. Brad, you started off the season really on a great roaring start with 3 wins in the first 11 races. However, the last of those third wins came right here at this track back in May. You've been fairly consistent up to this point with some great runs, but haven't been able to break through with another victory. How confident are you, along with the rest of your team, of guaranteeing yourself a spot in the next round with a victory this weekend?
Well, I'd like to thank Sterling that we're saving the best for last. We didn't have the summer that we'd like to have, kind of as you pointed out, but I feel like the last few years we've had incredible summers, not very good springs, and not very good falls. So hopefully that bodes well for this fall. We're happy to be coming back here. Whenever you come back to a track that you've won at, it certainly gives you a lot of confidence and feels really good. And we won this race this past spring. We won Martinsville the past spring as well, and they're back-to-back races. So we're coming into these 2 races feeling pretty good.
Go to Nate and then to Steve.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Brad, did you get to the bottom of what the problem was where you didn't restart immediately Monday at Dagger?
No, I never heard. It didn't have any fuel pressure, which was kind of surprising. But thankfully, that could have been a lot worse for sure, Nate. But we were able to get back to pit road and get going, and didn't really hurt us that much. We were in a good spot, quite honestly, at the end of the race.
And I asked Ryan and Joey this as well, but obviously they had the things at Dover. You have this thing at Talladega. Any concern about, is it just a rash of fluky things that just happened during the season? Or is there, Joey and Ryan both said, hey, it's separate issues. It's not anything we're really worried about Penske.
Yeah, again, it was another separate issue from what they had. So those things happen. It's strange when they do, because you would think you would find them over the course of a season or over seasons, because they're the same parts and pieces, and for them to just pop up and nobody knows why is really weird and strange. Goes against really all of our teachings. But it's part of the reason why I think, Nate, you get so much anxiety with this format, because I kind of think of it, like almost like a bit of a house payment. You want to feel like that the season is long enough that you can stretch those things all out and they all kind of average out. But with the playoffs, they don't. So you just kind of hope that those things they happen in the better times, which is not always the case. I feel like the last few playoffs, since we've had this format, that I've had a lot of those types of failures in inopportune times, but in the years where we haven't, we've been able to go to Homestead or go deep in the playoffs. So hopefully that doesn't happen for any of the Penske cars over the next few weeks. No, I don't think so, but I don't have all the information either.
We'll go to Steve, and we'll come up front to Trevor.
Steve Conley, PRN. Brad, when you look at the next round of the playoffs with Martinsville, Texas, and Phoenix, do you feel that the pressure increases with each round? And as close as you are to the cutoff, does that anxiety that you mentioned increase as you get to that next round, if you can make it?
Yeah, I think, I look at Martinsville, and that's always such a big race to win. Joey won it last year, and I feel like when you can win that race, you almost get 3 weeks to prepare for Miami, where everybody else gets, 1 or 2. So it's really a huge race to win. Certainly, you get to Phoenix and Texas, and to your point, the pressure gets is a little different. It's almost like your kind of last chance. But there's a lot of pressure to just go out and win Martinsville.
We'll go to Trevor, and we'll go to Tyler.
Trevor Mater, NASCAR College Media Program. You won here back in the spring. It was a nighttime race, a little bit cooler. It's going to be during the day and probably warmer Sunday than it was then. Does that change the way maybe you guys set things up, maybe handling-wise and stuff Sunday?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that the day versus nighttime races. There was a good point in time where I felt like, with the rules package, the low downforce and all those things, the racing was better during the day. Because the cars slid around more and did all those things that made for multi-grooves. Now it's almost the opposite. I feel like the racing with the 2019 rules is better at night when the track has a lot of mechanical grip, because you can draft and you can run close to, kind of wide open and use the different lanes in the corners. So, and in the spring, the racetrack really came to us during the night when it gained a lot of grip, and we were able to draft and then run multiple lanes through the corners. So, certainly going to be a different race. Time will tell what we have, but we'll do the best with what we got.
Tyler?
Tyler Jones, KLWN. Brad, you've had some success here over the years. We know that NASCAR is being more proactive with the schedule and such. Is this a place that you would like to see continue to keep both its dates that it has going forward in the future?
I hadn't thought that much about this track specifically. I know there's some agreements with respect to the casino, Tyler, that have some ramification on that. And I don't know all the details to it, but I know I do enjoy seeing the things that I've seen this community transform. I was here the first year the track was built, and you came down the freeway and there was a racetrack, and then the next year you came down the freeway and there was I can't remember if it was the lodge, the Hunting Wolf Lodge, and then every year there's been something else, soccer stadium, and shopping mall, and it's been, Kansas is the clearest track to indicate, I think, to a community of what NASCAR can do for them. And so, I think you look at racetracks that are able to have such a positive impact on the community, and you tend to think of them in a very positive light, at least I do. And I can't think of a racetrack of recent memory that has transformed, such a small area in such a quick time in such a large way. That was a lot to say, but, with that in mind, it certainly seems to lend itself to, making this a valuable date to the sport.
Go next to Chase.
Chase Wilhelm, NASCAR.com. Brad, obviously you're the spring winner here from this year. Do you really look at that as a major source for confidence, or is this like a whole new ball game? You focus forward and you tend not to think about the past, considering it's playoffs.
Well, there's no doubt, Chase, the cars have developed a lot since then, but the driving tactics have not. And I felt really good about some of the tactics we were able to use here, and feel like that will apply. But yeah, it's hard to tell. I'll know a lot better after practice. See how the cars handle it and so forth.
Go to Steve.
Brad, with the win earlier in the season and the way that this aero package has developed through the season, how different is going to be driving this racetrack compared to the spring, or is the change that significant?
Well, I think the cars have certainly developed a lot where, they found ways to maximize the aero on them. These guys, not just my team, all the teams, spent a lot of time in the wind tunnel and making all kinds of tweaks and finding all kinds of efficiencies. And with that in mind, they've certainly increased the performance in the cars dramatically. And so I expect it to play out at least somewhat differently. It's just what kind of scope is hard to tell. I would expect the cars will qualify a lot faster, I can say that.
Go to Nick.
Nick Bromberg, Yahoo Sports. All right, we come from Talladega, where the O-line was a topic the two races there. To hear where on restarts guys will be diving to the apron and coming back in turn one to make passes, is that proof that the O-line rule could maybe be reevaluated, or does the contradiction work?
Yeah, it's interesting because this racetrack, you have the white line, Nick, but it's 3 or 4 lanes underneath that. And initially, for a long time, when they made the O-line rule at Talladega, or at least as my memory serves me, it was pretty close to the grass. So, if you went underneath the line, you were almost to the grass. Now that they've paved Talladega and all these places down the backstretch and so forth, seems as though it's a little bit easier to get away with at those tracks. I kind of like coming here and not having to worry about all that. I'm glad that there's never been, at least that I'm aware of, any thought to adding a rule like that here. As for Daytona and Talladega, I'm always been the let them race kind of guy. But they don't really ask me what I think about those things. So they'll make the rules and I'll try to beat them.
Up front to Jacob.
Jacob Blair, NASCAR College Media Program. With Kansas Speedway being one of those tracks where there's a lot of different racing lines, and then today there only being 2 short practices, is there a balance between finding speed in multiple lanes, or do you just focus on speed in your preferred lane?
Well, to win the race, I guess it'll be Sunday, you're going to have to be able to be good in all the lanes. When you catch lap traffic, and you get in their dirty air, you're going to lose so much speed that if you can't find another lane to run in, you're going to get passed from somebody behind you. So you certainly need to be good in all the lanes. I think that's something we were able to do here in the spring. It's hard to do because the cars drive so much differently in all the lanes. These cars all have really big splitters on them, and the splitters are very sensitive to how high off the ground they are. And one of the biggest things that impacts that is the loads that the car carries through the corners. And when you run the different lanes, the cars don't travel the same amount. The aerodynamics change on them dramatically. The handling changes. And, you can have a car that's really loose on the bottom of the racetrack and run it at the top of the racetrack and maybe be really tight or vice versa. And so as a driver, it's hard to prepare for that. It feels more and more like dirt racing to me, where, you got some guys that run the cushion and some guys that run the bottom. And if you're going to pass the lap traffic, you got to be good enough to do both. And I see that, becoming more and more prevalent over the last few years. And so, it's a challenge for sure, but I think it's what kind of separates the winners from everybody else.
Brad, thanks for taking the time to join us, and good luck this weekend, man.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Hi, Brad. Charlie with ARCA. Before you get out, we've got our 2 championship contenders here. I know you know Bill Venerini. Your father is a former ARCA.
Wasn't me.
Wasn't me either. Your father is a former ARCA national champion. What does that mean for your family? How did that championship help boost your father's racing career and ultimately your racing career?
Yeah, well, championships in any of the, racing motorsports levels, they're big deals. They transform your career, and they put you in a spotlight that you wouldn't normally get. I think there's a lot of great drivers across the country and really in all the different divisions. And, not all those drivers get a chance to compete for a championship, but I always think it's interesting to me, when I was competing in the truck series or the Xfinity series, the first few years, I didn't get to compete for a championship. And I didn't really understand what it meant until I had that opportunity. And when you win them and you get to go to the banquets and you get to go to the different things you get invited to and stand with champions, it's a mark that never leaves you. So it's quite an accomplishment. No problem. Thanks, gentlemen. And ladies.